that is here. We're going to be recording. We have you all muted, and I'll remind you during the call as well that you can add questions to the chat. So with that, Tessa, if you want to record, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, and welcome to the 11th in our Shift, Sustain, Succeed series. We welcome anyone to join us each Tuesday and Thursday as we do our best to find you answers to the most pressing or questions that our businesses have in navigating the COVID-19 situation. There's so much worry to go around these days. Worry about our health, about our loved ones' health, worry about our jobs, our businesses, and our finances. There's loneliness and frustration. Today, we'll be talking with two mental health professionals about how to take care of ourselves and those that we care about proactively, and knowing what to watch for and when our anxiety needs to be tended to. So today I welcome Darla Dodds, the Executive Director of Hand in Hand Christian Counseling, and Martin Richards, the Executive Director of Regional Counseling Center. Good morning, Darla and Martin. I do want to remind everyone that we are in an ever-changing situation. What we think we know is fact today may be replaced by new information tomorrow. So everything we share is based on what we know about our situation today, on the best information that is available to us. If you have questions that you would like us to address during this call, please feel free to submit them to the Zoom chat, and we'll do our best to include them today or to provide follow-up. So with that, we'll get started. Darla, while many are now able to get out and about, there are still concerns about isolation, being stuck. Can you talk to us a little bit about this unusual situation that we've all found ourselves in?
Definitely. Thanks for having us here, Susan. We just really appreciate what you do to help out the community. Isolation is one of my biggest concerns when it comes to this crisis, as well as any other mental health related situation. I think this crisis somehow has made us look at each other differently. We stopped making eye contact. We stopped smiling. And so isolation, even if we're not stuck at our home, it seems like we're more isolated than ever now, even as we go to the grocery store and we're around other people. Somehow when we talked about social distancing, maybe it should have been called physical distancing, because how many times have we sat in our home and we didn't reach out to the person that we wanted to reach out to because we were socially distancing? And over the phone, we're not going to pass any kind of virus, along the way, but people stopped calling each other. They stopped doing the things that they were doing on a regular basis. And I'm very concerned about that. So I have a couple ideas of things that people could do for taking care of themselves, maybe, when they're feeling isolated or stuck. And one of those things, all these are connected to the way we're thinking about things. When we just sit and we wait for this thing to be over with, the things that go on in our thoughts are probably not so good. We might gravitate towards what's wrong in the world, or what's wrong in our life, or what we don't have. And as we start to go down that road and we just kind of sit and wait for this thing to be over, look, we're 2 months, almost 3 months into this thing right now. That's a lot of wasting the wait along the way. So I encourage people to do something during this time. This is a good time to set some goals, good time to just try something, rather than wasting the time or just sitting waiting for it to come back. Also, there's kind of a unique situation that's happened here. I know I'm kind of uncomfortable being on a video and talking to people. I squirm around a little bit. I'm a little self-conscious, but this is a time where performance anxiety, we're kind of all at the same level. There's nobody's the expert right now. Everybody's uncertain. And so for the first time, it's kind of like a flat line, like we're all equal. And so it's a great time that when we're anxious about something to actually just try it, so I might squirm around on the camera a little bit or so what, it's not the end of the world. It's not killing me. And we're working out okay. And so people are trying technology maybe for the first time, or maybe they're sitting wasting the wait and they're not trying it. So there's different things to try. And I'd say the thing that you're anxious about, try it, just do it. Because there's no performance guidelines right now. And then, excuse me, back to our thoughts. When we focus on what we lost, I think we're in real danger, because we start to go down this road of grief maybe suffering, and it kind of paralyzes us. I remember the first day when our staff went home to work at home, and although I'm at the office a lot alone, this was the first time I felt lonely. And I remember walking through the office thinking, they're not here. I don't know when they're going to come back. I don't know how long they're going to be gone. And so I actually cried that day whenever they were gone. And then I recognized, whoa, Darla, like you're going to have regular contact with your staff on a regular basis. But it's amazing how that thought pattern just really set me in a path of destruction. But the opposite of that thought pattern is what do we have to gain? What are our opportunities during this time? What kind of creative things can we do or think? I mean, people are cleaning out their houses and doing outside stuff and inside stuff, and more than ever before. Maybe we're going to have the nicest looking neighborhoods in the everywhere. But when we go down that road of what do we have to gain or what are our opportunities, we start to have hope, and it gives us life and energy. And so it just kind of does the complete reverse. Gratitude goes similar to that. You know, I've been thinking about my staff team as they've been gone a lot during this time. And so we a lot of times have to send like supplies to them. So I take an order from Staples, and here's some supplies coming to your house. And I say, how can I show that person I appreciate them? Like, what else can I send along that Staples might have that I can just send along? And so I looked up employee appreciation, and they just had these little pins, just says, I appreciate you. It was like a goose, and they were leading a flock or something like that. And I just sent that along with the order. She didn't know it was coming. And she caught that, and she says, oh, thanks for the gift. And it was like it was $1 million, just because I was just thinking of her and appreciating her along the way. I think we need to do a lot more of that, showing gratitude and appreciation towards each other.
Thanks, Darla. And you know, many of the things you've suggested, I know I've heard of others doing. Some of them I've done myself. I've cleaned out a closet or two, and that, you know, those phone calls and that outreach, whether it's, you know, you initiating or something you've received, I think any of us that have experienced that know it can change your day, it can change your week, and you never know, it might just change your life. I've actually heard of some calls that have been made in the last 6 weeks that are without question life-changing. So those are fabulous, you know, suggestions and things that we should all be thinking about and looking at. And at the same time, of course, there are real concerns for some people about their health. While we've not been so affected here in Venango County, many of us may know someone that live in an area that really have serious concerns, and then that brings concern to us. What if, you know, I'm vulnerable, or someone that I really love it's impacting people's ability to, you know, visit parents at all, but certainly if they're in some kind of senior center. There's also the concern about finances, that people have lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods. They may already be impacted or may predict that they're going to be. How do you feel like people should deal with those real concerns that are really, you know, legitimate to worry about?
That's a great question. Because I think that is where a lot of people have gone now, especially in our area. Maybe we didn't get the virus full force in our area, but people are concerned about finances. We're concerned about that all across the state. And so when we think about those things, I guess the first thing I would say is, what's the thing that you did the last time you struggled with something? Like, what kind of ways do you solve problems on a regular basis? So do you consult with advisors? Do you figure out the pros and cons? What do you do? How do you normally solve problems? And I think if we can go to that realm and say, okay, this is a problem to be solved, whether it's a real problem, like I'm going broke right now, I've lost everything, I can't pay my mortgage, or whether it's a perceived problem, in the next couple of weeks, I don't know what's going to happen with my finances, or if this continues any longer, can I keep my business running? I think in those situations, after you get through I always give myself time to do the shock and cry and temper tantrum or whatever I need to do. But then after that, I say, okay, now what are you going to do about it? And I just start to do whatever kind of problem solving I can. I bring advisors around me. I bring my team around me, and I just ask. I ask questions. I'm a person that likes to put big papers on the wall, and I like to think big, and so I do like a brain dump and get all that stuff out. But I think that there's a solution. And when we think about the people who are members of the chamber, we think about people who already are entrepreneurs. They already are business owners, employers, employees. And so they're already wired in a sense to solve problems. The reason we built our businesses the way we did is because we started with a problem or a need in our community. And we said, how can we help? And in starting to do that, and then, okay, here's my situation. What can I do? What can I do today? If the best thing I can do today is to relax a little bit and get my head screwed on straight, I'm going to do that. And then what can I do tomorrow to take the first step? And it might be, if it's finances, it might be about, okay, how can I pare things down? Or how can I find ways to get more money? Are there creative solutions in the midst of this? If I owned plexiglass right now, I'd probably be really rich. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or masks, or I don't, but I could find ways to solve a problem that's a real need. And as you said, Martin and I are both mental health professionals, and there's a lot of talk that there's going to be a lot of need for mental health professionals in this time as people are trying to figure things out. But I say, go back to what you've always done. Go back to how you know your problem solved in the past. Remember your success. And I think then you can move forward with this situation too.
That's great. And I love the suggestion of write it down. I have not yet been able to really fine-tune journaling. I know it's a healthy, good thing to do, but I write it down. I do a lot of lists, and we invested here in the chamber in a lot of whiteboards. So a few weeks ago, I brought them all into my office. And when I get overwhelmed, I write it down. I put it in front of me and go like, what can I cross off or check or I actually have a note, stop doing it, plan to do it, delegate it, or do it. So that's all great suggestions. Martin, would like to talk with you a little bit. As an employer, are there practices that I can be doing, that others can be doing, that will help our staff feel safe in this situation?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Susan. Just before I do that, I do like that physical distancing one, Darla. I hadn't heard that before. That makes a great deal of sense to me, because I think one of the biggest things I'm missing is the physical human touch. I don't know if you said that. I apologize if you did, but I'm not used to technology. I had to dash out and turn my basement pump off there for a moment. I wouldn't have to do that if I was at work, would I, in a meeting? I think communication is essential and probably the most important thing to help people feel safe. Once it became clear that something was going to have to be done, I was able to gather the team together and very quickly actually decide and listen to all the staff members, but get the supervisors together and decide, yes, we are going to react. We're going to move quickly on this and make it safe. It's better to overreact at the start. If we'd done that, then okay, we could go back, than to underreact. And I think people really appreciated the fact that suddenly they had this permission. And to be fair, state mandates allowing us to move, our businesses, mental health services, and being able to move to telehealth overnight, which basically was unheard of, was absolutely amazing, actually. There's an incredible reaction from the state to allow us to do that. So that was very helpful. But then ongoing communication and just keeping in touch with people, I think we're going to cover it a little bit later. But just not having people around is really very odd and very strange. And immediately, yes, the isolation and the fear was very evident. So trying to normalize as much as you can, but just talk about it, just share information, gather information from statewide meetings, from bigger organizations. We've had the Friday meetings with Trenton Moulon for the nonprofits. That's been very useful and helpful for me as well. And then I'm able to pass that information on and kind of soothe and calm the employees who appreciate it.
Great. Yeah. We've talked about that, being able to meet with people, whether it's in Zoom or at a distance, is really helping us all get through this. So that said, when we are with the people that work with us, for us, or our customers, are there things that we should be watching for that tell us that something's a little off, that we should maybe be reacting to? Are there things that are a sign that we need to kind of call to action to do something different?
I think for me, there's kind of a timeline of events. immediately it just went very quiet, and we were all kind of leery of each other, and everyone's staying away from each other, and we're all wearing masks, and that's all very, very weird and very, very strange. And it was just the quietness and the lack of people around that was so bizarre. Work in a building, there's usually about 50, 60 people coming and going all day, every day. Suddenly there was about 4 of us, and it was just downright strange. And then you've got to look out and identify the individuals who are, definitely struggling with it, have their own fears, spend some individual time with them, have contact other employees or other staff members or family members that you may know to check in with them and see that they're doing okay. Have them check in. Darla, I like your idea. I like giving people, I love tangerines, so I buy those, the halos, clementines, whatever they are. I buy those and put those on everyone's desk. They all think it's me just being generous, but it's just, I don't want them to get sick and miss work, really. But little gifts like that, little simple things like that, people really appreciate. But when you're all spread out, it's not so easy to touch base. It's not so easy to track on people. So we do a lot of texting. I did fairly soon say that people had to come into the office at least once a week. So a lot of face-to-face meeting, not just all distant. And if people were uncomfortable with that, because there were a few people who were very uncomfortable with that, I'd meet them somewhere in the community, somewhere, it was appropriate to meet, and just talk and check in and see they're doing okay, get the paperwork they need to hand in. So just the quietness was the first thing. I'm happy to say it's a lot noisier now, and it's becoming a lot more fun again, because isolation is just not enjoyable.
No, I know. Kind of hardest for me when we started going out with masks on is anyone that knows me well knows that I like to smile and greet people, and I'd be smiling under my mask, but I found that at least in the first few weeks, people were almost afraid and not even like talking to each other. If the masks created an odd barrier. I hope we're going to get more used to what that will be like. So, we talked about kind of what to watch in others. How can we as employers and leaders kind of keep ourselves self-checked? I think, we may be experiencing things we've never experienced before, whether it's because of isolation or just the changing circumstances of how we're now required to lead. Can you talk a little bit about how we self-check and manage, and how we share with others what our kind of concerns and needs are to take care of ourselves?
I'm a big believer in team. I grew up playing team sports and think that collaboration and empowerment of people around you makes them feel better about themselves. And I like open communication. People need to not feel fear that they're going to get in trouble if they point something out they don't think is right. You need to just have a conversation about it. And frankly, I think at times letting people know how a decision's been made, even if they don't agree with it, mostly they can understand it. As for our own checking in, unfortunately, my father passed away on April the 13th, and I was unable to go home. Clearly, it's been very tough, and it was very nice for all the people checking in on me and making sure I was doing okay. I'm still trying to figure out how to get home, and they're assuring me that it'll be all right if I do. And it's just very touching, the amount of people who've reached out to me locally just to wish me well and offer any assistance they could. So I was very proud of the team for that, and the way that there's definitely a lot of checking and balancing and different people within our little organization. And I think everyone feels supported. And it's important that there are those check-ins.
Mark, I think a great point that we really didn't talk about, when we were planning for this meeting, is just that in isolation, we may forget that others are going through things that we don't know about as quickly or as generally, especially if you're someone that's not kind of technology driven, going online. And so it is, really a time that calls for us to be sensitive to others, regardless of what your position is, that everybody's going through things. And I think sometimes we think our leaders are so protected from hurt and personal lives. And so it's a really good time to support everyone. So throughout the community, one of the things that we're really seeing, and I think it's getting worse, is that there are very strong and varied views on what the real risks of this situation are. Some around the health, is COVID real? Because we don't feel it here. Am I at risk because I'm young and healthy? Financial risk, because some people have been devastated, and other people say, well, I've been really busy, I'm work, no, paycheck difference. And that's creating conflict. It most definitely will create conflict in some places of work. It will in the community. How are we to manage that conflict and difference of opinion that may really lead to some anxiety and stress?
I think treating people as individuals is essential, because it has been staggering. I've had employees who worked straight through meeting face-to-face with people, and people who didn't come into the office for about 6 weeks. It's just incredible, the different levels of anxiety that people have. And as long as you treat them as individuals, and as long as you listen to their concerns and help them work through it, I think they appreciate that, and develop a comfort level that's good for them. We're moving towards coming back into work, it seems, starting Friday really, and then next week, but we'll take that one step at a time. Some are already back going full time. Some are going to be 2 or 3 weeks yet, and that's okay. I can manage that within our organization, and we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, I think we often feel this need to be very fair across teams and make sure that we're executing everything. So I really appreciate the advice of, understanding that everyone has different situations, and we have to, really treat the individual, whether it's about their decision or their situation.
It's also the individuals coming in for services. It's going to be very interesting to see how many of those folks would prefer to continue to receive telehealth and come in face to face. I mean, some have absolutely insisted, and as long as they're symptom free, do all the usual checks, we've been okay with them coming in. No gatherings, of course, but it'll be interesting to see how many do get comfortable and how many just decide they don't really want to come in, they don't feel safe. And then it'll be interesting to see how the state and our licensure bodies help us through that one. So we'll see. We'll wait and learn, I guess.
Yes, and in fact, remind everyone that we've been putting resources up on our website. If Tessa will change the screen there, we'll show you that you can visit our website and see resources. So in fact, that's one of the things that we'll be sharing, probably have shared, is what some of those guidelines are. There are guidelines around distancing, around crowd size, around masks, and that is another one of those things that causes potential conflict. So as people go out and about the community, that some people are of the opinion that masks are ridiculous, and others think that they're crucial, and that's another one of those conflicts. So do you have any additional comments in regards to how we deal with differences of opinion with our actual customers, and as we move about the community with the people that we want to serve?
May I jump in on that, Susan?
Absolutely, Darla.
So I love what Martin said about each person's a unique individual, and I think because we're looking at each other with such distrust now, and everyone has gotten information from their own sources or from however we collect information and make the best sense of it. And so we're all making the best sense of the information that we have, or the information that we're getting. So it's not about right or wrong. I think if we can think about that with people, it's not if your opinion is right or my opinion is right. It's about what is it you need right now. And so if somebody needs something right now, like some extra protection, even asking the questions, would you prefer me to wear a mask, or would you prefer that I don't? And kind of allowing, when we have the freedom to choose those types of things, accompany people. It's kind of like a reasonable accommodation for a while. Maybe it would be a way to think about that.
Yeah, I always like the advice, start with a question. So, if we could get better at asking other people how they feel and what makes them feel safe, that's probably a really, really great place to start. And Darla, while I have you on my screen, I'm going to ask the question that we talked about. When does our worry and the stress that's created in this situation become more of a risk than the risk of COVID itself? We were told early on that there was a chance that, the suicide rate would go up, and that we would have more people ill because of isolation than the actual virus. Can you talk about what we need to watch for and protect ourselves against in that vein?
And again, it goes back to that. It goes back to really listening to people, really paying attention. There's a not that everybody who might be at risk is saying these things, but it's good to pay attention if somebody is. Somebody might be changing their talk. They might have used to talk about, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do this and this, and now their future talk is a lot less. Like, yeah, who knows if we'll ever even make it through this thing. It might start to sound more hopeless. Might feel a lot more dread. They might feel overwhelmed, and you can hear that whenever somebody's talking. You can hear kind of a change in their direction. They used to be full of life, and now they're kind of staying back by themselves. They're being silent, and so I look for any kind of changes like that in somebody's behavior or speak or body language, those types of things. Also, sometimes we just have a gut feeling. If somebody pops into your head and you say, I wonder how Darla is doing today, I hope you'll pick up the phone and call, because there's something about that gut feeling that says, I should just reach out and call that person, and it could change their whole world. They might be saying, if only somebody cared right this moment, if they knew they weren't alone, if they knew somebody cared, then they could finally make it through this thing. And so, but also anger. Anger oftentimes is depression turned inside out. So you might see a sudden increase of anger or substance use, which would be certainly cause for alarm also. People try to drown out those feelings of anxiety because they are not comfortable at all.
Yeah, I think that's a real threat that we have to watch for. Even it felt like for a while, even in our local media, we just weren't seeing violence played out. And if anyone's turned the TV on in the last couple of days, boy, it's in our world, and I think we have to watch each other and protect each other. So thank you for that. And Darla or Martin, I'm going to welcome you both to kind of as we come up on the end here. I don't see anything in the chat, but I'll remind listeners, if there's something you'd like us to catch here in the last few minutes, please do. I think one thing we'd like to leave everyone with is, where do we get help if we're feeling like just overwhelmed and stressed, or we know of someone? Where should we turn for help in the community? What's available to us right now?
Go ahead, Darla.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that reaching out for help is not a sign of weakness. I know there's many people who are the primary caregivers or primary wage earners of their family, and they feel like they have to be strong and make it through this thing and have all the answers and all the decisions. Nobody has all the answers. And so asking for help from anybody, from a friend, from a coworker, from a colleague, from a mental health professional, it doesn't matter, and it's not a sign of weakness. So please ask for help. We all need help in some areas. And a lot of times just getting that extra, somebody looking in from the outside clears things up for us really, really well. I know that there's all of us in the mental health profession are available. And so we've all been open for business, and we're going to continue to be open for business. Many times it's just a phone call to be able to get the process started. A lot of times it's a phone call down to the county mental health based service unit on Dale Avenue, and they can actually be a connector for many other programs and resources that are out there. But a lot of times a call to just look in the phone book, look on your Google, a call to any of us will get you, because if you call us and it's the wrong number and it's not who you're looking for, we're going to get you where you need to go. We're going to say, well, it sounds like you might be looking for Martin over at Regional Counseling Center. Let's get you connected to him. Here's his number, or wherever. We're in this to help people, not to, it doesn't matter who you call, just call somebody.
Right.
Martin.
And we'll be sharing here on our last slide the contact information for each of you, and we'll be sure in our resources to also give you the number for the county health services. So you mentioned, reaching out, looking for help. I think one of the things that we've really watched play out at every level of leadership, whether it's at work or clear up to the top world leaders, in one breath, we're looking for direction. We want people to tell us, you know, kind of what to do, but then we don't like it when they tell us something that we don't like. So for kind of our ending here, you know, I'd love some, you know, your thoughts on how as leaders, wherever that is, if we're talking about home with your kids or, you know, leading your organization or your community, what are the kind of things that leaders can do or that we need from leaders to help us make us feel safer and like there is really hope in our future?
I think listening to people's concerns and anxiety is essential. Gathering input, because it's all so novel and new to us. No one's been in these situations before, so none of us have all the answers or know what to do. And just getting consensus building and communicating that throughout the agency, building consensus so that people can understand what's going on, why it's happening, and then we'll regroup as we move another week into this, another 3 weeks into it, because it's an ever-evolving situation. And so you have to keep revisiting that and keep communicating and keep listening.
Thank you, Martin. And last comment, Darla, from you?
Martin really nailed that well. I think he did a great job with that. We use the words plan, do, check, adjust. It's the same thing as what Martin said. So we're gonna set out with a plan. We're gonna show them we got something in process, that we're paying attention to things, we're aware of things, and we're also going to keep asking for input, keep communicating. I'm somebody that likes to show my work, and so when I give somebody like a new idea or a new policy or here's where we're going in this direction, a lot of times I'll say, and here's where I came about that. I got this information from here, and I processed this through, and here's where I think we're going to be able to go. So I give a little vision that we're still on board, the ship's still running, and we're going to make it. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to make it.
Great. What a great point to end on. You know, hope. Hope and instilling hope for the future. I think there are days we all feel hopeless, but we can work together to really, to expand our hope and know that we've got great days ahead. Thank you both so much. We've tried to bring value in this series, and I've been so appreciative that both Darla and Martin have been regular attenders. So I think that further, says that getting good information, staying in touch are things that we do to stay healthy. So I so appreciate their commitment to the chamber and to what we're doing and all of the advice that they've lent today. With that, again, I remind you, this is recorded. You can share today's session. We are continuing. So next week we will be on Tuesday talking about diversifying your revenue stream. And on the 4th, next Thursday, we will have the Restaurant and Lodging Association to answer some of our pressing questions about how we get back in business and do so safely. So again, I thank everyone in today's call and invite you to join us next week and have a wonderful week. And we're sliding into the weekend. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.